Good morning and welcome to the SHAC. My name is Barbara Gray from Clarity here in the UK. It's Monday, it's sunny, it's quite fresh, but we're set to have a fabulous week. So I'm waiting for our friends to join us. I know that Paul Church is in the room with yourselves. So if you have any questions, then Paul is the person to ask. And I'm just steering the bus today. So we're on V for Vase on our alphabet journey, and we started the vase last Monday. I do apologise for not turning up on Thursday evening, but to be perfectly honest, I hit a wall, and I don't know what happened, but I just hit a wall. There you go, and I thought I can't push this any harder than I already am. And so I let go. And I knew that you would understand. I just parked the SHAC bus in the depot for an evening and went to bed really early, actually, I think. And that's good, because it just gave me more energy. And it's the same for yourselves as well. I mean, I love you for always supporting and being part of the Clarity community, but you too deserve a break, you know. So there we are, and so this morning we're on V for Vase again. Come on in, and I've done some really nice prep. I think I've got some nice ideas. Today's the last day of March. Last day of March. Good grief! So it's officially spring now, but where did that month go? Hey? Well, I know we were in Japan for the whole month. I'm really glad we did that. It's just a beautiful art form, isn't it? It's a beautiful place when you think of Japanese art. And I've got some nice bits and pieces to show you. I've got a real special treat for you this afternoon at 2:00. We thought we'd leave on a big high. We'd leave Japan on a big high. Greetings from Melbourne. Hi, Jenny. Good to have your company too. And good morning, everyone from sunny Oxford. Hi, Jackie. Isn't it lovely? All over the world. All over the world. Hi, Jill. Jill's my guru for Japan. So we're not going this year, but we will go. We will. Put my last order in last night. Did you, Jackie? I know you don't like big birds, do you? I read it. Marion, grüß dich. Schön, dass du auch da bist. So we've got Marion in Germany. Yeah, I love this. I love this. Good morning from Norway. Hi, Ellen. Isn't it crazy? I know. You make my day. It's a real tight community. I wrote the newsletter yesterday while I'm waiting for our friends to join us. I wrote this month's club newsletter, and because there's a newsletter goes out, of course, every month that I write, and in the newsletter you threw me, Jackie, with I don't. I know you don't. You don't have to underline it. There's a lot of people that do, darling. So I wrote the newsletter yesterday, and I was talking about the things that we do and the things that we feel we ought to be doing, and how much often we think, we're getting behind. I certainly at the moment with Dave and everything going on, I think that's why I hit a wall on Thursday, because it's like, it's overwhelming. In the end, you feel you're not getting anywhere. You're just treading water and you're sinking. And then you've got to turn it around. And, in the newsletter, I talked about how you kind of, you got to look at what you are achieving, not what you aren't achieving, And once you turn it around like that, then actually I was real calm today. I thought, well, this is what I've got on my plate today. So I tick these boxes and I'll do the best I can. And I'm not going to look ahead to the rest of the week, because we have a very busy week. We really do, but I've got a great team. We'll be fine. Dave's doing great, absolutely grand, actually. And Yeah, but it all takes time, you know. It's a big healing process, isn't it? Hey, did you have a good weekend? What did you get up to? I I did some pottery last night. Yesterday afternoon, I actually went in the pottery studio. Good for the head. Good for the head. And Dave made roast lamb. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, that was nice. And my brother, he came over on Saturday and helped us in the garden, which needed help. So that was really kind of him. And then he took care of Mum yesterday, so I didn't have. There's no point in both of us to. So I can then take Mum out during the week, and that way she gets the best of both worlds. So Sheila and Steve, they had Mum for lunch yesterday. I don't know what she tasted like, but they had her for lunch anyway. And yeah, so it's all good. Our Mark here is taking down the shed. Jackie Cooling, concentrate on what we're doing. No, actually, I really like the banter. I do like the banter and the conversation, but I just mustn't look at it because it distracts me from what I'm doing. So I think I might I don't want to hide the chat, just in case you want to say something to me. I know that Paul is going to feed me the chat as well, but I can concentrate better if I don't try and read and talk and draw and drive the bus. So there you go. All good. Yeah, I apologise for Thursday. Yeah, we've got lots going on this week. We'll let a few friends find us first, and then I'll tell you. But today is the last day of Japan March, you know. So bear in mind that if you did want to place any more orders, let me just tell you that it's the Japan 10 code. It runs until the end of March, aka today. Okay, so if you are going to pop in an order, you might want to have a look at what we've got in store for you at 2 o'clock, because we're definitely leaving Japan on a high, and then you can take advantage of that Japan 10 one more time. You know, we've had some really lovely things going on. Oh, and I've got a little plan as well here to show you some stuff that I know we're going to be using beyond today, and especially in Groovy Tuesday, for example. Louise's, she's got a plan. So I want to shine a light on something that you may want to buy today for down the road, for working with Louise on a Tuesday. Just saying. Okay, so let's have a look. Good. Lots of people in. I appreciate that on a sunny day like today. We've got the tree surgeons at home, which is why I came into the office. I came in anyway because I'm this afternoon. But there was no way I was doing the SHAC with the tree surgeons in the garden. They need sorting out, you know. So we might as well. It's a bit radical, very expensive, but needs doing. You know, they're getting really tall, and the yew trees, yeah, they're crazy. They're 400 years old. Can you imagine how tall they are? And there's an oak tree. I just, you think if it ever does come down, it's gonna, even though it's right down the end of the garden, even if it fell in our direction, it would take the house out. So, I should do some measuring and just pray that it doesn't fall in the other direction if it does go. So that's why it needs to be taken down. We have to take responsibility, don't we? Yes, we do. So what I wanted to do, let's get started. We'll have a look at these vases, because we started on V for vase, remember? And I thought, I'll show you a couple of little tricks, how to make a vase. I had some ideas. I mean, vases are, so Japanese as well, aren't they? Although personally, I like less busy vases. Because I think the flowers are the answer. They shouldn't distract from the flowers, really, or detract from the flowers, should they? So what we did last week was we went to V for vase, and we actually drew some flowers in the V because it just lends itself to a vase, doesn't it? So if you missed this and you're building your alphabet with myself, then maybe you could go back on to the Monday and have a look at that. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a piece of tracing paper, okay, because we did look at some different shapes. Do you remember? Let me just get my bits together here. Right, so we looked at some different shapes and we had a little chat about vases, didn't we? And I said, what was your favorite? What was your favorite shape? Do you remember? Was it this? Was it that? What did you like? Glass? Did you like ceramic? You know, what vase do you use the most? I have to say I use this one the most, interestingly. Paul says he thought I said knee surgeons, not tree surgeons. Oh no, I think Dave's had enough of the knee surgeons for one session. Yeah, no, I don't think he'd appreciate that. Tree surgeons. Right, so last week we talked about the different shapes. And I was thinking, right, what would be really useful would be to show you how to draw this shape. So very often they're very symmetrical, aren't they? So you could draw, as long as you draw on a fold. Let's just make it obvious. As long as you draw on a fold, now you can draw any shape you like. So say I like that shape there, right? Provided that I draw it on a fold, whatever I draw on the fold, when I cut it out, that's good, right? I don't even have to cut it out. I can just use it as a vase. But my point is, let me just take an HB pencil. Where was the HB one? There you go. So I'm going to put the fold here, right? Let's just say, and then I can, that's the vase I want, and it needs to be symmetrical, otherwise it'd be pretty weird, right? Then I can go like that. There you go. And then that, if that's going to be I can cut that out, or I'm going to go there because that's where the flowers are going to be. See, so as soon as I've done that, I've got something to cut out. Yeah, and I'm doing it on tracing paper because I've done my rough. See, I could take that one, put that on there, cut that bit out. I could take that one, do that. See, look, here's the ones that we did. Here are the ones that we drew before. So I could take that halfway. Do you see what I'm getting at? Draw it like that, and then cut that bit out. So it's the world's your oyster on this stuff. How many vases does a girl need? But you can choose, when you do it like I'm suggesting here, you can make any size, any shape, any size, any shape, okay? Just on the fold of a piece of tracing paper. We'll pursue it. We'll go a little bit further than that, but let's just show you. So that's the first thing. Now, let's cut this one out, and I'm going to make sure that I cut it out. I'll do two. So I'll do that, okay? And I want to make sure that I cut it out because I want to use maybe the inside as well as a mask down the road. But let's see, if I go like that, then this is going to be my shape. So that's quite interesting, like that. Okay, so then take that away for a minute. So that now is my vase shape. Cool. Okay, and there's my inside part. This is pretty basic, I know, but you know what? It's got to be said. First thing to make a mental note of, we're using tracing paper and not copy paper. First of all, you can see the design on the paper through the tracing paper. And secondly, if we're going to use ink, and I'm going to use a bit of ink, I'll show you. There's a reason. It makes good sense. How are you doing? How are you? Right, I switched the chat off. I'm terrible. But it's because I had to concentrate and I could feel I was getting distracted. Okay, so we've got our vase, let's say. Now you may say, I'm not confident with cutting out shapes like you. It's easy for you, you might think, right? And I understand that. I completely respect that. And that's why we built a craft company. On the back of that, if we could all draw, we wouldn't need stamps. If we could all draw, we wouldn't need stencils. But stencils and stamps, they have their place in the world, right? And so here is, for example, let me show you a stencil. Okay, perfect shapes, right? Not only do you get the outline, but you also get the inside. See, so I would say that you could probably draw this. You'd struggle to draw it perfectly symmetrically unless you do it on a fold, right? And the stencils, they have their part. They play their part. They're great for other things. Look, I'll show you. It's not just to get the shape, right? So you could put texture paste through it. You can stain texture paste. You can stamp texture paste. You can overlay texture paste. Texture paste is great. Look, see? And then you can put the stencil back over the top, for example, once you've done the grungy texture paste, and then you can add your color and your, yeah. I used this one, for example, right? I used that shape and I put gilding wax. This is really nice. This is a work in progress, this one. You might think I'm a bit mad. Let me take the coffee out of the way. But I was practicing something. So everybody's on this crackle and ink. See what I did was I cracked it afterwards. I wonder if I can do another crack to see if you can hear it. No, I've cracked enough. But what I've done is I've made crackles in it like that. You can see it. And my task now is to turn that into a kintsugi vase. I know what I've got to do, but I need the cracks to get the stain in there, and then I'll close it back up again. That'd be beautiful, right? So this is where your stencil is invaluable, you know, for that kind of application. But it's also great for just pushing color through, or getting your shape, establishing your shape. It's good for that too. So don't underestimate the power of the stencil. And if you can't draw and you like that shape, then do use that shape. Look, because we've got this sale going on, this big promotion, and I'm going to just show you these. So we've got pots, we've got grasses, we've got great big, these are great stencils. So this one's 266 if you fancy that one. This one, these are good shapes. 213 with a trellis, that's nice. And then the one I'm showing you, there you go, 180, another one. So that's this one. That one's hidden behind here, see? And of course, you get all the bits. So the bits are worth, for jelly plates, for gel plates, the bits are bingo. In fact, all the stencils that I'm showing you would be fantastic with gel plates and alcohol ink, or yeah, I could go for days with a gel plate. So if we take that one, let me show you how to use a stencil. Anyway, so there you go. And if you want the trio of stencils, it's 1037. And don't forget to use your Japan 10 at the checkout. Now, if I take another I'll take another piece of tracing paper, okay? And obviously, I could just do that, but then that would require having to cut it out perfectly too. So again, I'm going to do this on a fold. Okay, let me show you. I've got a plan here. So I'm going to do that on a fold like so. See, I'm using the stencil now, and it's halfway exactly. Okay, like so. Then I'll take it. So now all my stencil shapes. See. So it's easier to do that and cut it out than it is to do that and cut it out. Agreed? So I've got another one. Okay, let me just do this too. And then I have a plan. I've been thinking about this, friends. How are you anyway? All good? Let me move that so I don't, that's it. Right, let's have a look. Paul, everything all right? We're on together this afternoon, Paul and I. And we've got some really lovely last hurrah for Japan. See, the thing is like this, even if I miss the lines a little bit, doesn't matter because it'll be symmetrical whatever I do. Okay, so let's do this. I'm using the vase literally I'm using the stencil just to give me a template really. Okay, so now I've got two choices. So I could have a little stash of vases that I could use. Now, which one do I want to go with? Well, it's up to me, isn't it? So that's just the start. Okay, instead of using an outline and then filling it in, right, we're going to use, so what I mean is you draw the vase. See, I was thinking about that this morning. I thought, well, I could draw the vase and then I could start shading. And I thought, oh, it's going to take forever. So then I thought, oh, it must be an easier way to do this. And this is this. So another little sip of coffee and then we'll have a go. Okay, you ready? You need, if you're going to do this with me, have you got a piece of stencil card? Get a piece of stencil card and get some spot-on sponges, right? You need a couple of spot-on sponges, and I need some stencil card though. Now I know I had it here. It's all right, I got more. Stencil card, okay. Let me just go and find some stencil card, and then what we'll do is, here it is. Stencil card at the ready. Okay. See, I'm a bit of a fish out of water when I come to work with the SHAC because all my stuff's at home. But I'm going to take a piece of the stencil card and some low-tack tape, and I'll just show you what, this is the idea. So I'll take that and I'm going to go, I could try them both. They're not going to, what I want to do though is leave enough room for my flowers. If I'm going to put flowers in, then I need to know that my flowers are going to fit. Now this needs to be sitting, like not moving while I'm working. So low-tack tape, low-tack masking tape, okay. Because I thought, well, we could draw, you know, cherry blossom in the vase, but I'm not a fan of those vases. I'm not that keen on them. I like plain vases, maybe with a little tiny bit of, you know, I'm not that fussed about. Imagine doing this with the old camera. I don't like busy vases. I like, yesterday when I did my pottery, see, that will hold that lovely. When I did my pottery yesterday, if you're coming to the open days, I hope you are, I made my favourite sort. They're square, really nice. And I made 4, well, I started 4, so I was out there for hours. But I got on a roll, you know. The first couple were a bit of a struggle because I couldn't remember the process. But then once you've made a couple of mistakes, you think, oh, I know, I've got to do that first and that first. So then I was in it, then I was in the game. So I'm really looking forward. The trouble is, though, I say 4, you know, they've got to dry now. It's going to take about a week at least for them to dry before they can be bisquied. You know, so there is a time process here, and I'm not going to put pressure on myself. If they're not ready for the open days, then they're not. But my hope is that I'll have a few there. So we'll see. We'll see. So now I've got my tracing paper. I've put it in the right place. I know I've got enough room to put some nice flowers in. Yeah, I reckon that'll be about right. Okay, could move it over a bit, but that'll do. Maybe put a message there, you see. So now I need a brush. Have you got a brush? A stencil brush, just to get a start, right? It's got a bit of black on it. You can see that. I'm just going to get, so what I'm doing here is defining the shape, right? Let's just do a little bit around the edge, not lots, because otherwise we've got no, if I cover it in black, then I've got no room for the shade in that. See, because I want to put a bit of shade in there. I want to put a bit of shade there, bit of light. So now we've got to decide, where's the light coming from? Well, I reckon the light's coming from this direction here. Okay, so this is light, a bit darker on that side. If I wanted it the other way around, then I'd focus the shade on. So first thing you've got to do is decide where's your light, right? Now, what I want to do, instead of using, I'm going to be very specific about where I put my colour. So this is the point. We could be using pencils, or we can use ink. We could be using, watercolour. There are so many different possibilities, aren't there? But I know that 99% of the people watching are stampers. So I know that you've got inks and sponges in front of you. And this gives you a really lovely kind of muted effect if we're working on this. So get a bit of scrap as well while we're on it. Get a bit of scrap. Just so that you can... Right. I just want to take a bit of paper so that I can see what the colour is going to be. Now I'm using a light grey. Should we try this? What do we think? Let me just see what's happening here. Yeah, there we go. It's funny because the messages, the chat doesn't move on, does it? It's just frozen for some reason. So there are loads of you chatting, and I'm not seeing any of it. That's all right, though. There you go. Hello, everyone. Right. Richard, nice to have your company. So what we're going to do is take this little shadow grey. You know, we've got these little mini archivals. Use any ink you like. I just went with what I had in front of me. I'm using these this afternoon, so I thought, oh, that'll do. Right. So, see, if I smear on paper, see how it sits? Look, I'll do that again. If I want to smear into here, if I do that, look, see, it all sits on the paper. It soaks in there and it doesn't go in. Right, so I'm going to make a mushroom with my makeup sponge, with my spot-on sponge like that, right? And then, now watch what happens, and bearing in mind, you know, this is for best. I haven't got two on the go here. So, but I'm working on, look, see on the sponge, when you work on tracing paper, look, it just wipes in so beautifully. So you get the most, and if you use, let's have a look. So this is going to be more shade over here. See, look, it's like satin. It works like satin. And you just can pull it in. So that it's beautiful. It's a real find, this is. Let me come in on the camera so that you can see it better. Let me come in on the tight one so you can see it really well. Look. So when you're working like this, remember the light's on this side, okay? But you see that, so you put it on here, but when you smear it in, it doesn't actually work, or it doesn't grip until it's got some tooth to grip on. And so I'm pulling it in. I can't tell you how lovely this is and how dimensional your work gets when you do this, right? So I'm making that mushroom. I'm just using that one colour. Right, now, you'll see when you come in, and it's just gliding off here. It's just gliding off the tracing paper. This is really, really cool to know, okay? So let's say I want a little tiny bit in here. This is where I want the colour, underneath that head, underneath this lip here. I want a bit of shade in there. So I'm going to make it tighter, right? And then I'm very measured in where I'm going here, right? Let's get some going there. See, because it's protected under there. So that's okay. Should we have a look at what we've actually got when I need an edge of some description, but I don't want it to be non-existent, but it has to be very different to this. I'm trying to make this look dimensional. Do you see? So it's darker here now. If I were going to draw on this, if this were a, let's put this on here. That's the bit I've cut out, let's say, right? The light area, the area I'm avoiding is that area there. That's the area that I'm kind of avoiding, okay? Probably a little bit more even, like that. No, that's about right, because then it starts to turn the curve. So if that's the area I'm sort of avoiding, I want that to be white because that's where the light is hitting, then all this area here, right, I can afford to get in there. Do you see? All that can be dark, although, yeah, you get what I'm saying. And also, you probably want this bit here light, otherwise you've got no contrast. Okay. Maybe a little bit more along there. Until you pull the I'll lift it in a minute to show you. Right, let's do this. So you can bring this in and you can work this. Right, so I'm doing this in grey just because I'm making a point, right? No pencils underneath. You could do this in any colour. You take any one of these ink pads, do it in teal, do it in red, do it in pink, do it in blue, do it in blah, 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 blah. You can use any ink colour. I'm just using grey because I'm keeping it very, very vanilla, if you like, right? Plain, because I'm showing you the process. Right, so if let's take this away. If I just want to lift this up, but I want it to stay so that I can put it back. I just want to show you what it looks like, but I want it to be in the right place to put it back. Look, do you get it? So there's no, I haven't used a pencil. I haven't used anything other than a bit of tracing paper. That's the point. And it looks really, really dimensional. Once you've got this down and you understand, you know, the world's your oyster, really. I just wanted to treat you to that one because I worked it out this morning, and I'll show you when I did it first. Let me show you when I did it first. When the bus driver did it the first time round, look, she did it on a bit of tracing, normal copy paper. Let me come out a little bit. So when I did it on copy paper, it worked, but it was a chore, and I didn't have as much. You see, I didn't have as much. I had to work it much harder. I also didn't have the contrast. Yeah, so with this, you sweep, and immediately you've got the contrast because you've swept all the grey into the artwork. When you use copy paper, see, so it's difficult to know, well, where's the contrast? I can't see. With this, you can literally see what it's going to look like when it's done. Do you see? So that's quite something. And I'm going to throw another one in here because we're all on the bow wob, right? And that clever trick with the black on white paper where we use the gel plate and we make a transfer, you know? So you do that through the hole, do that through the aperture. Fantastic, fantastic. So you've got the patterns then from the bow wob in the background of the vase, very subtle, really nice, right? We can talk about that later too. The other thing is, say we've got bow wallpapers. I just grabbed a load to show you my point. Say you do these bow wallpapers, right? And then you put your tracing paper on here. So now you've got your background. So you put the vase here, and then you put your vase on here, right? That is great too. You might have to use a little bit more color. Right, this is a great one. See? So you'd put the vase there. I know what you're tempted to do is put the vase there, right? But then where are you going to put your flowers? So, or, right, now she's thinking outside the box. How about we make a smaller one of these? So instead of cutting out a great big vase, we make it fit. So we want it to sit about there. So then we do our little fold on here. You got it? You do your fold on there, you make your little aperture, you put your little vase in, and then in come the flowers. See? So that way, because I'm showing you the process, I'm working on a piece of white stencil card. So I've got a lot of white going on there. at some point. And we could call it clean and tidy, we could call it crisp, but sometimes if you've got a really subtle bow wallpaper in the background, like that, yeah, that makes for a much easier piece of artwork because you've already got a really grungy, sexy background to work on. Yeah, and if you're using archival ink pads, especially these sort, you'll straight away maybe use a darker grey, but you'll straight away get the shape of the vase or whatever it is bucket, whatever you're using, plant pot, without having to draw it, just by using the sponge on tracing paper. And just how dark it is depends on how long I go for. Do you see? So I think that's worth knowing. And so what I'm saying, to recap, I could do this half the size, and instead of doing it on white card, I'd put it on here. Wouldn't these look fantastic? Use your imagination. So this little vase now is here. Oh, that is going to look so good. I'm saving this bit. So all your scraps and all your bits that you think, I don't know, you know that great big room full of these that you've got. This is so cool to do. Yeah, so we've done that. I think this is cool. Now the next thing I wanted to show you, actually, I'll tell you what I want to do, because I know, a lot of you are thinking, where's she going with this bow wob stuff? What is she talking about? How do you get the patterns? So I did last Monday, we had a bow wob session, black on white, white on black. That's what bow wob stands for. It was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. And we did a TV show here, and we launched Japanese bow wob papers and also the sentiment papers, which work really, really well. So, for example, just to recap, you may remember last week on the 21st, we did, we used these fantastic Japanese floral stamps. But what I wanted to show you was the bow wobs. See? The bow wob pieces, how we did that transfer. So you just imagine that that's in the back now of a vase. So let me just grab, there was another project that I don't think I even got to. But let me show you. I've got the projects here. So we keep them all in the box. See, but I want to show you the project. So I think this has got legs. Go back and watch it if you get a chance. So if I come in, so that's the finished card there. Let me take the bag out of the way. But if you look at the actual gel plate print, so where I got this from, we've got these Japanese bow wob papers. We've got set 1 and set 2, and you do it on a gel plate. If you go to that TV show, the 21st of the 3rd at 2 o'clock, I think it was the 2 o'clock when I did it. Paul can check. But I used half of the gel plate using one of our fantastic Japanese patterns, and then brand new the sentiment bow wob papers. So happy birthday, get well soon, thinking of you. See, and you can see black on white, white on black, bow wob. That's where it comes from. And then once you get those backgrounds, you see, then you can get the most fantastic. Look, these are all the bits. We don't throw anything away here, This all goes back in the bag for next time. And so that way, next time we showcase those particular stamps and those papers, we've got a starting place. We know we've already got. Look, this is a particularly. I know I digress, but this technique, this process through that aperture, and you could use the stencils too. Okay. The thing about the vases, what's good about vases is they're a lot. They're not little. You're not using the stencil for the infill. you're using the bow wallpapers for the infill of the vase. So now, for example, on this one, this was particularly nice as well. And you can see where I've split it between, you can see between the text and the pattern. Now, imagine if that were, let me just grab that. That could be, there you go. So pretend that's the vase, yeah? Look at that. And then, or the jug, but you've got the vase, and then you've done your little bit of grey to get the dimension. You've done that as well. I think so. I definitely think so. See, alternatively, you could just cut the vase out of the bow wallpapers. That would look pretty cool too. So there we are. Just packing in as many ideas as I can here and just shining a light again on those bow wallpapers because they are formidable. And where's the bag? That one, that one, that one, that one. Okay. They're really, really excellent for backgrounds and infills. I think that's my point. Infills. So if I just go through these one more time, these beautiful gold, they were oh well, that I'll tell you what that was. That was stamp board. See, stamp board with gold. No, isn't that gorgeous? There we are. Look, with embossing power. So all these demos were all done last week, and there was a combination of that. Bow wallpapers, and then these fantastic stamps. There were some superb stamps on the show, and I'm going to just shine a light on that particular set again so you can see there. I don't know if I've got the L on that one. Let me just check. I might have the L. If I go to, let me see, that would be on... I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I've got the L on that one. No, I can't see where it would be. I'm not sure. There it is. There's that big bundle. Okay, so that was from last week, and you can see here. So this is what you've got here. I'm just shining a light on this one more time because after today, these prices change radically. Okay, so those bow wallpapers are in that bundle, and you get a 3 for 2 basically. You get all 3 papers, but you only pay for 2. On those 3 sets of stamps, which are 3-way overlay stamps, really fantastic. Okay, you're getting a 3 for 2. And then what you also get is a really neat little set. I'm going to show you because I think, see this little set? That comes free as well in with that section. So you can see there's a little tiny set of stamps there too. So if you want just, for example, if you want just the stamps, then there's just the stamps. If you want just the papers, there's just the papers. Let's go through that again. Just the papers, 3 for 2, 31780. Make a note. That's the code you're looking for. And then, of course, in addition to that, you can add your Just Japan another 10% on there. If you want just those 3 sets of A4 stamps, which are here, right? These are quite formidable. We'll have a little look at those in a minute. See, these are vases. Mouth-watering artwork, really. So here what we've got is 12127. You're going to buy, you're getting all 3 for the price of 2, plus your Japan, right? If you really missed this and you love this Japan art, then there's that huge bundle. And you save £50 just about, plus your 10% additional and your club discount. So that's worth bearing that in mind, okay? And then what I want to do is, if I just pan out a little bit, I know normally when we do the SHAC, we don't really do a lot of selling, but I'm pushing today because the prices with the Japan 10, you'll be kicking yourself if you see this and you think, oh, I wish I'd known that. because not only does the Japan 10 offer stop, but also that half price, 3 for 2, 3 for 2, all that goes back to the full bullet. It all goes back at the end of the month. We wipe the slate and we begin with April. Otherwise, what happens is the whole website ends up on offer. So this special, really special Japanese, this was like the highlight of the Japan month, this collection here, that also reverts to the regular price at the end of today. And that's really why I said to Paul, I'd really like to kind of shine a light on that again. And if you have a look, for example, here, there's that little set that I'm going to use to decorate this vase. I think it's going to look gorgeous. And you can see here, you've got all these wonderful little worker stamps. You've got the 3-way overlays. So they work on their own, but then that works in that works in that. So this fills the line art in. This fills the background in, and this is on every single one of those. And remember I showed you when we were doing the show that each of them, because they're hand drawn, they're done by hand. I did it by hand. So that means, right, let me show you that they're not symmetrical. So here there's a tiny little nodule, and here it is too, and here it is too. And then you know that lines up with that, lines up with that. If you twist this round, it won't fit exactly. And every single one of these has got a little tiny nodule, and you won't see it when you're stamping, right? It doesn't show, but it makes a heck of a difference when you're trying to line up 3-way overlay stamps, you know. So these are a delightful collection, and there are 3 of them. I'll show you some artwork, and then you can always have a look. But if I show you the artwork, and then I'll go back to my vase because I have a plan for you, right? But when you see this, you think it's the front of a vase. These are vases, you know, quite beautiful actually. So let's take a look at this artwork. And we can see here, this is Linda Spencer. I'm going to come in a little bit closer though, because I think this merits a real look at that. There we are. So this is just gorgeous artwork using 3-way overlays. Here's one again by Linda Spencer, turning it into a panel. Here we can see Deborah Wheeler at her best. So we are using the background and the outline, and we're not using the infill. So in other words, on that one there, for example, whichever one, let me just show you, just so you understand. Where's that one? Here it is. So there, Deb's used the outline and the background, but the inside she's left blank. So she didn't use that one. Do you see? Very clever. Very easy to use as well, very user-friendly. There's another one just using the little bits around the bottom. There's another one just using the little bits on that stamp set that I'm going to use on the vase. This is a great one by Deb McMullin, offsetting the square one. See, that one, she just used that. There, just moved it around a bit. So you get a round, very clever. This is a lovely one by Deb. Sheila Metzeler, gorgeous, using those little stamps. Here's a great one by Tina Morris. See, again, all 3. She's used all 3, the infill, the outside. Just giving you a couple of ideas. Deb McMullin, background one, love that one. So this is a great panel by Sarah Brennan. There you go, Sarah Brennan, it's just super. I chatted to Sarah yesterday. I'm really pleased to tell you that Sarah's agreed to do she's coming down. She was coming down anyway for the open days. Sarah's been on the design team. She's a good friend. She's been on the design team for years. And now she's retiring. She blogs every single day, that young lady. And she agreed because Tina can't make it to the open days this year. Tina Morris. So Sarah's kindly agreed to jump in and do the make and takes. Bingo. So I need to speak to her. She's got some plans. She's already in overload thinking about it. So she was coming down anyway. So I just said, fancy helping us out? And she didn't hesitate, which was really good. I'm glad about that. So there's another really lovely one, just showing you. Teamwork makes the dream work on that one. Deborah Wheeler, love that 3-way overlay. Look at the beautiful paneling on that one. Let's take that away so I'm not so... Look at that. Clean, tidy, gorgeous artwork. Isn't that lovely? Very nice. And last but not least, Sonia. So Sonia, more mixed media, she's used that stripy stencil. I'm going to use that this afternoon with the cranes. It's funny how we always go back to the same, same stash really. But I think that's the mark of a good product. If you're always using it, it's not just a one-trick pony, is it? We go back and we use again and again and again. Right, so just to finish on that, that's what we're looking at now, is that big bundle there. And if you are interested, then really you could get everything individually too. But the biggest offer, the best offer, is on that one there. So, and the reason that I also wanted to flag up, bear with me here, you'll be glad I did if you're into groovy, because we've got the same designs, of course, in groovy, haven't we? See? And Louise, this is another thing. So on Wednesday, the 1, 2, 3 courses begin, don't they? I hope you're all set. 1 to 4, our foundation course, our paid online course, 1, 2, 3 foundation course for groovy, commences on Wednesday. If you can't make it, doesn't matter. You've got access for as long as we think you need access. Well, if I said lifetime, you can get in there and watch again and again and again. It's available as a product. There are loads of people going to be joining us, and we're having a live session as well. So the but there's the pre-records are already done, and they will be loaded as soon as the live session is over. So that's exciting on Wednesday. If you want to join, even if you can't make it on Wednesday, sign up. You can come the following. It's 3 Wednesdays. Wednesday, 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 4. If you miss one, doesn't matter. You can catch up later. Okay. The point I'm making is these are not the plates that she's using, that Louise is using in the 1, 2, 3 course. These are the plates that she's going to start using on Tuesdays when we do Groovy Tuesday, right? So I wanted to flag these up because they are the same patterns. There are 2 plates. We've got this one and that one. And she's going to be using these plates in the Groovy Tuesday mornings. So we've got 1, 2. She said that they're so good and there's so much, they're so useful that we need something to hang our hat on when we're doing Groovy Tuesday. And we're coming to the end of the all-in-one plates. And so Louise has said that she would like to play with these. So if I show you those numbers, because this is the point where you can get a brilliant deal again. I'm not sure if Paul loaded the, let me just see if they are loaded. Yeah, I think so. There we are. There are the Japanese floral tile samplers. There's the duo. You see, you save £13, and that's before the Japan 10, which is why I'm bringing it up, because from next week, this is what our Louise is going to be using. This plate's 42464. This plate's 42463. If you want to get both of them and enjoy that really big savings, it's 42475. And she'll start using those from the 8th of April. So it gives you plenty of time to get your order in for these. And then on Groovy Tuesday, if you're really into parchment, then you've got your 1, 2, 3 on a Wednesday, and you've got your Groovy Tuesday on a Tuesday using these. There you go. And that's all I have to say on that matter. We go back to our vase now. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to tell you about. So let's just check this. And I've got my little set of stamps. All of that, just so that I could tell you where these come from. Okay, so I'm back to my vase. And then I've got my little stamps. When you do this work, if you wanted to make it a little bit darker, so you can go and go and go and go. If you stop for 5 minutes and let the ink dry before you go again, what you'll find is it picks up the ink better. You'll see the second time round. So now what I'm doing is I'm really working on that edge. So you see, I'm just going to repeat what I did a little bit before, but you'll see it gets really lovely and dark. Look at that. See, can you see the difference? It's come in. And it has to do with letting the ink dry. There's a saturation point there. How much darker it gets. Check this corner out here. Let's do that again. So you load it a bit further away. Let me get rid of that. Let me just get rid of that. There you go. So you load it a bit further away and then you sweep in like that. And it really, you can see, look at the depth. Look. So around this side here, I don't want it to be too light. Right, and then in there. Now let's go in here. And let's just get that edge there like that. I want to go in there like that. See? So good to do. So nice to do as well. So you can almost use the tracing paper as a kind of a, there, look. Oh, I know. Let's get a bit down there. So you get in there and then you just, and you use the sponge almost like a paintbrush, look. Like it. Right, now, enter the stamps. And I've got a bit of scrap and I've got my stamps. Where's my absolute fave? I have a favourite. There, it's that one. Right. Let's get that going like that. Now I want to show you something as well. So if I take my scrap and I go, we've done this before. Let me pan out a little bit. It's a bit too close, so you can't see it very well. If I go, the stamp pens are fantastic for these little stamps. Okay. So if I go like that, it's nice. Of course it is. And I'm using that grey, aren't I? I'm using that grey, the light grey. So what happens, let's see what happens if I take this sponge, I'm going to use the sponge now as an applicator. So I'm putting a load of ink on there. Let's see if it looks different. If I do that, oh, it looks really misty. Look. Let it just settle. So now I'm going in there. See the difference? You go direct to the ink pad. You go in there. So which one do you want on your vase? Let me go to a different colour. Let me go to a darker grey. Let's try a darker grey. Bearing in mind, I've got to remember that that white card all around me is actually part of the artwork. So if I go like that. Okay, so this is darker. So that might be a bit severe on the vase, you see. So what about, all right, lose the light. Let's go with the darker one so that you get the feel for it. Right, so I've added a little bit of ink from the ink pad to the sponge. Right, let's see what happens if yeah. See, so you're using the sponge now as an ink applicator. And that's what I'm after, is that misty effect. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to go in here now, right? I'm going to go there. And I'm not going to fill the vase. I'm just going to put a little bit on there. One there. And then I'm going to come down. I'm going to, like that. That's what I'm after. Right, and then I want to make sure, though, I've got enough ink on there. That's exactly what I want. So subtle that it looks real, you know, rather than black, black, black. Now, let's take this away. Let's see. I just want to hold it for a minute, just in case I change my mind. Doesn't that look authentic? See? That's all I wanted, was that. So let's say now right? I've done my vase. What's the time? Oh, come on, we got to do the flowers as well. I'm going to show you what we're going to do we'll do this on Thursday evening because it won't take long. But you maybe will enjoy doing this, having a play before we get together on Thursday. But if I show you what I did, or what we're going to do, we'll do some colouring in on Thursday with the posters, okay, with the floral posters. We'll do a flower, yeah, but we're also going to draw flowers. Let me just put my lovely little stamp back on its home base, that one. See, I've got all those opportunities, all those stamps. Really excellent. Stamp pens. Right, so now I'm going to take a piece of tracing paper again, and I'm going to draw. I'm not going to draw. I'm not that confident, okay? I'm not going to draw straight onto my paper. I'm really happy with that vase though, yeah? But if I take a piece of, see, I can take a piece of tracing paper, a whole piece like that. I've done it already, I'll show you. And I've wrapped it in there like so. So that now is where the vase is going to sit. And then all I've done is drawn, like over here. I could do it over here to show you. And we could do this together. So, for example, I'm going to pop a big flower there and maybe a tubular flower there. And I probably want to, so it's all about flower composition there. Might put another one there. I think I'll put some little flowers there. Leaf, I like that kind of, this will make it nice. It doesn't matter if it's overlapped because it's all going to be, I might put a leaf there like that. So you've got to be a bit careful. If I'm going to wrap in front of the vase, I've got to be careful which flowers I use. But so I'm getting my composition. See, and then when I go to draw it in, this is what we'll do together on Thursday, if you like. Then I've got I've got my big flower there. I've got my flower pointing that way. I've got another flower here. See? So it's all very sketchy, but it's all very lovely. Look, I'll show you. See? So we're going to put a tubular down there. We've got a big kind of dog rose there, leaf, bit of bare grass, always easy. Bit of bare grass always turns it nice. And then we're going to make these ones. These are just a scribble. Up we go, like that. So what we'll do is, and it all depends, of course, on which vase will work best. So have a little think about that. Get your vase ready for Thursday. And then on Thursday evening, we will create a bouquet. You need tracing paper, and you need a pencil. That's it. And then the rest we'll sort out. But your vase is the key. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed that session. Now, let me see. We're back at 2 o'clock, Paul and myself. And let me just go to the right room. Yeah, so we're back at 2 o'clock, Paul and myself. And then tomorrow at 10 o'clock, it's Louise and Paul, or Louise in Groovy Tuesday. And then in the afternoon, there'll be a 2 o'clock show as well. On Wednesday, for those of you who have enrolled and signed up for the 1, 2, 3 course, that's on Wednesday afternoon, 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, the live session. But as I say, of course, if you can't make it, there's a pre-record for you. And the live is there for you too, if you want to see all the banter. Then on Thursday, it's you and me, babe, in the SHAC at 7 o'clock in the evening. Friday, we're going to take a break. Take a break for you and for me. Okay. So where we usually do TV on a Friday, we decided to park the bus for that day, because on Sunday we've got a fantastic show lined up for you at 3 o'clock. So from 3 to 5 on Sunday, first Sunday of the month. Where are we? We're here at Clarity, and hopefully you will be joining us. So there you go. That's the lineup for the week. But we will see you at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And Paul, thank you so much for your help. It's nice to have your company. And I don't think I've forgotten anything. No, I haven't. Okay. Have a fabulous day, and thanks for being there for us. Lots of love. See you at 2.